How's it going, everyone? I'm Monolith Games, and today we're going to be back with another build guide. This time it's going to be on Bleed Falconer. Now, this is a build that I have been playing lately on stream and quite loving it, as it, with pretty bad gearing, is able to clear like well into empowered. Feels like it has no difficulty at all, and it looks like there's a lot of top end for this build. Great scaling, should be able to continue well upward into higher monoliths. So I'm looking forward to playing it a lot, and I figured that's something that we could share. Let's go ahead and talk over some of the concepts of the build. Now, first of all, the build does require one unique minimum, being Blood Roost. These gloves are going to be very important for it. Want to get that out of the way. There is a secondary unique, being Valdir's Chalice. While not required for the build, is very helpful for it, as it gives you a way to heal from your bleed damage over time, and that survivability is going to be very helpful for keeping this build alive without having much effort at all. So with that, kind of the whole concept here is we're taking this effect on Blood Roost that says a portion of your bleed chance is granted to your Falcon. It will always be greater than 100%. This item can roll pretty wildly. I was for a long time using one that was 150%. I now upgraded to one that's 180%. So if I could get a 300% one, I'd basically double my damage, which that's insane, right? Outside of that, there's very similar things in the passive tree under Sky Assassin. There's also some in Rending Talons. These will all transfer your ailment chance. And then the other one that we're scaling ourselves with is Rending Barbs here in Aerial Assault. And don't worry, we'll be going over all these in a second. So basically, for every 4 decks we have, we get 4% bleed chance. This will proc anytime enemies walk over caltraps. So we're going to be spamming a lot of caltraps to get our Falcon's bleed up. And then we're going to pop things like Falcon Strikes, use Aerial Assault to stack a bunch of bleed on them, and the damage will be great. All right, let's go ahead and start on skills. Starting with Falconry, we're going to do 1 point into Falconer's Journey, 1 point into Is It a Bird, 2 points into Agile Prey, 4 points into Rending Talons. This is going to give us ailment chance 200% converted to our Falcon. Pretty nice, and again, standard for the build. 2 points into Side by Side, 1 point to Train to Hunt, so we convert our highest percentage increased damage to the Falcon, 75% rate. 2 points into Avian Stamina, 1 point into Bird of Prey, 2 points into Blood Dance, 2 points into Falcon's Screech, 1 point into Frightful Feathers. The whole concept's here. We're getting additional strikes on kill, 10% chance for bosses. Anytime we load a full health, our Falcon will screech and fear enemies around us, keeping us safe. From there, 2 more points into Is It a Bird, 2 more points into Avian Stamina, 1 point into Hunter's Spoils, and then we'll round out Bird of Prey. The rest of this is just rounding out some damage and giving us some health on hits, and then increasing the kill threshold. Moving on to the second most important skill, we'll start with Net. We're going to start with 1 point of Trickster Artist, 2 points of Zone Control, and 1 point of Tinkerer's Combo. This makes it so that we'll be dropping caltraps, which is going to be very important for increasing the amount of dots we'll have thanks to Aerial Assault. From there, 1 point into Rending Wires, and 1 point into Bolt Throw so that we stop flipping backwards while using it. The reasoning for this is because we're going to be using this skill a lot against bosses, and if you're flipping backwards, you'll have to constantly be moving towards them again. From there, 1 point into Advanced Engineering, 1 point into Surprise Snare, 4 points into Exposed Bait, 2 points into Tangle Wire, 3 points into Leading the Hunt, 2 points into Quick Throws, and then 1 point into Entangled Weapons. This one shouldn't need too much explaining. Damage, and some attack speed to make sure that we can keep throwing nets as fast as possible. The only interesting one here is Entangled Weapons. This will decrease the amount of physical damage that our enemies can deal after being hit by this. You could convert this 1-to-1 to Weakened Threads. I think either one is fine. They basically do the same thing. Next up, let's go over Aerial Assault. We're going to start with 1 point into Skyward Swoop, 1 point into Treacherous Pursuit, and 4 points into Rending Barbs. Again, this is the keystone of the build, and one of the main reasons we'll be stacking Dexterity. Spike Fields will make sure we get a little more consistency out of that. 2 points into Refreshing Resolve to recover some mana, and then 1 point of Coordinated Assault to help us get back our remaining cooldown recovery. From there, 1 point into Covering Fire, 1 point into Predator's Cascade, 2 points into Ambush, 1 point into Slayer of Big Prey. This will make it so that this damage buff will always apply, which is the whole reason we came to this side. 4 more points into Avian Hunter so we can get a little lower cooldown recovery, and then 1 last point into Ambush. For our fourth skill, we have Dive Bomb. For our Dive Bomb, we're going to do 1 point into Rushing Wings, 3 points into On Wings of Shadows, 1 point into Flock of Crows, 1 point into Dancing Shadows. This will make it so that our Falcons will dive on top of shadows, getting extra hits, and repeat the effect again. After that, we're going to put 1 point into Rush of the Hunt, 2 points into Focused Hunter, 1 point into Cloud Gathering. This will make it so that we extend Smoke Bomb duration, which is going to be our main generation for shadows. From there, 1 point into Hindering Beak Strike, and 5 points into Flesh Tearing Talons. This will make it so that whenever our bird swoops down, we'll get 5 resistance strike stacks, and we only need this and 1 of the shadow falcons to hit to get max stacks. Remaining points from there can be put into Rushing Wings so that we get reduced delay on cast, and then you can either put 1 point to Insanguinous Strikes. I don't really know how helpful this is yet, but I think that it's worth at least giving a shot for now. If you don't want to take it, you can remove that point and put 1 point into Rush of the Hunt to get a little bit faster cooldown recovery for Dive Bomb. And for our last one, we have Smoke Bomb. Now, as a warning, a lot of people are currently using Smoke Bomb and Dive Bomb so that you can get an infinite duration Smoke Bomb. However, that has been hotfixed out. The good news is we aren't really using it for that. It's more so here to help us make sure that we can get the 10 stacks of physical resistance and as a way to get some defensive bonuses as well. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead with 2 points into Lingering Fumes, 1 into Smoke Blade, and 4 into Umbral Assault. This way we have a 100% shadow chance, and we get a little extra duration. After that, 1 point into Generosity, 1 point into Enfeeblement, 3 points into Moonlight Bomb, and 1 point into Cleansing Stream. This way we get Silver Shroud stacks, giving us a guaranteed dodge and 100 ward on dodge. Along with that, we'll be able to cleanse any ailments, so if you happen to stack up a whole bunch of bleed, you can always cast Smoke Bomb to cleanse it all and not have to worry about it. From there, 1 point into Shroud of Darkness and 4 points into Rapid Concealment makes it so that we get more defensive bonuses while we're inside of the smoke. And then your last 2 points will be up to you. If you're playing in group play, I'm going to give a special mention to Shared Concealment and Purging Fumes, because this will make some of these effects apply to your allies, which can be very important. If you're worried about health, you could take Invigorating Darkness to give it a 2 heal. However, I'm just going to go ahead and take an easy option and put 2 points into Lingering Fumes so that our Smoke Bomb will last a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and do passives real fast. We're going to go ahead with 8 points of Steady Hand, 5 points of Swift Assassin, 1 point of Twin Blades, 1 point of Guile, and then 5 points of Evasion. This sets us at our 20 and lets us move on. From here, we're going to dip into Blademancer, pick up 5 points of Pursuit, 10 points of Blood Serpent's Blades, and 8 points of Scarlet Stream. Now again, this is a build that requires a unique, so I'm assuming you are already level 60, as 59 is the requirement to equip the unique. So this is not something that I'm recommending you level with in the meantime. Now from there, 5 points into Handler, 8 points in Agile Hunt, 1 point into Wilderness Scout, and 5 points into Outlander's Tenacity. After that, we can go ahead and put 6 points into Peltus, which will help us get here to Evasion Tactics. From this point on, I will start leveling it as if you're leveling along, so we're going to put 5 points into Evasion Tactics, 1 point into Intuitive Connection, 3 points into Relentless Talons, and then 1 more point into Evasion Tactics. This unlocks Sky Assassins, which we're going to dump 7 points into, and then 6 points into Feathers. 6 more points into Tailwind to give us reduced damage while moving. You're going to be moving a lot with this build. And then here at 16 points, you have a bit of choices you can make. We can put 2 points into Needle-like Precision and finesse them if we feel like we don't have enough crit avoidance in our build. Remember, you want to get to 100%, but let's imagine a world where you're able to get 100% otherwise. We can go ahead and take this part out, and then start filling in some of the things we didn't before. Relentless Talons and Handler are a great way to increase our damage. And then after these are filled out, I wouldn't mind coming over here and picking up Cloak of Shadows. With only 3 points remaining, there's not a lot that we can actually dip into that will be impactful, so I like to come over here to Marksman and fill up 3 points into Focus Fire so we can just get a little bit more dexterity. After all, the more, the better. For itemization, I went ahead and filled out a few bases that are going to be very helpful here, but they're not too important as long as you have important lines. For your sword, you want Exalted Chance to Bleed on hit. If this is tier 7, it's even better, and you pretty much want to mirror these on both sides. Even though this doesn't have all the lines, just try to make a copy of this. Physical damage, damage over time, chance to bleed, minion damage over time. Those all 4 lines are going to be very helpful. Physical damage is not a priority. You can pretty much just ignore that, and if you can't get minion damage over time for whatever reason, Physical Pin and Minion Physical Pin can be a great alternative, though is also very rare. For your rings, increase minion damage and dexterity. You're going to want to try to throw dexterity on almost everything you can, as it is the main stat that this build scales with. For the helmet, +3 to level of Falconry is going to be very helpful. It's not mandatory, but again, 80% minion damage will help the build do much better, as every bit of minion damage does scale our bleed. Blood Visage, I think, is the best base, as the increased damage over time will help him be carried over, and bleed duration is just such a valuable stat. For the chest piece, we went with Falconry armor for no other reason than the fact that the melee damage for the Falcon will help it clear a little bit better, and then the dexterity scales everything else. But there are quite a few different good bases, so for this base, just put on whatever you feel is valuable. For modifiers, the really important one on chest piece is going to be chance to bleed on hit per equipped sword. You want to get this as Exalted, that's like best in slot. If you can't, then tier 5 is of course nice, but this is a very rare affix. Same with ward gained on Shadow Creation. It is an insanely good prefix modifier that can help us make sure that we have some good ward generation throughout the map, thanks to our smoke bombs, but is a little worse as as of this patch with the duration nerf. Because both of these are rare, dexterity is of course a good alternative to this, and then any good suffix would also be nice. Something like percent armor, HP, any resistance that you might be low on, all of these would be good. So don't feel like you have to hold out just for the percent chance to bleed on hit, as long as anything is nice. For boots, I would say that there's a lot of good bases. You pretty much just use whatever it is that you have good pairs of boots for. Citadel boots are nice, Solarium Greaves, Vanguards, like there's really no way to go wrong, but I don't recommend these boots that have like 8 armor onto them. So for this example, we're gonna pick Solarium Greaves, and then one of the best suffixes that I could recommend would be increased cooldown recovery speed. Putting this at a tier 6 wouldn't be awful, but even at tier 5, it's very helpful. This will make it so that you can use all of your abilities just a little bit quicker, and it is actually a very substantial DPS increase to the build. Outside of that, dexterity, and then just generally helpful lines such as armor, health, the usual. In post, I realized I forgot to talk about jewelry. We use ivory rings just so you don't have to worry about necrotic resistance, percent menu damage index on both rings, and then menu damage and damage over time on the amulet. Turquoise amulet is ideal, but if you want to use one of the resistance amulets, those are fine too. I want to give a quick mention to blessings. There's one blessing in particular that I think is very important for this build. In Reign of Dragons timeline, you can get Hemorrhage of Marrow, and if powered, this can actually roll up to 100% chance to bleed on hit. I think this is best in slot for blessings. The rest of them you can kind of put whatever you want, but this one is going to be very helpful. So make sure you try to target for this for a bit. Even if you can only get it on normal, as long as it's a good roll, it'll be more than helpful. And then idols is just going to be general health idols, nothing out of the ordinary. So now we're going to go ahead and load into a monolith. This is only about 150 corruption, which isn't that high, but I'm very confident in the damage that this build can have to go even farther, as we're clearing well now with pretty awful gear. Ignore the stuttering, that's just my PC being awful. Promise it's not your YouTube loading like trash. I think that's a big thing that doesn't get talked about too much, is this game really just isn't optimized very well. But I do love it. Like, I've been having a great time with this game. We'll go back, look at that after I clear the objective. I don't want to waste too much time looking at items for this video, but yeah, I think game optimization could be improved a little bit. But as you'll see, I'm not really stopping to waste much time on these enemies at all. For big things like the fleshes, we can throw our R, but it's not necessary. And then now we're over here at the hard specs. We're gonna go ahead and drop some cow traps, leap over on him, and he's dead. Very simple. Like I said, this thing really does feel like a breeze to get through. I love the mobility that comes from aerial assault, so I think that you will. So I'm hoping that this build will be enjoyable for others as well. All right, so let's start a boss now. This is one of my least favorite bosses. I'm sure a lot of people agree with me, but let's go ahead and do Emperor of Corpses. We're gonna start throwing our caltraps, walking up slowly, throw this, lay our smoke down, and walk back. Now, an important thing to note is to make sure you're not canceling your animations. A big example is, like, if I use R here, you want to wait until it's done before you cast another Falcon ability, because they will actually overwrite each other. There's an example, right? I started R and then I canceled it with Q, and that can be a huge way to kill your DPS. I'm dead. Not dead. Oh, wow. I really thought I threw with that jump. But we're fine. Put down smoke. Throw dive bombs. Again, we're throwing the dive bombs prior to R because we want the fizz shred. Down smoke, go ahead and dive bomb, and then throw R. 600 stacks of bleed, looking nice. Let's dive bomb from afar there. Go ahead and throw the bird. He's close enough that he gets executed. And that's it. Pretty simple. Let's do a Shade of Oribus now. Now, Shade's not going to be all that different. It's basically just going to be us walking up here. Put down the smoke. Let a few of these guys spawn. Throw Q to make sure the smoke stays. I accidentally canceled my R there, exactly how I told you guys not to do. Make sure to learn from my mistakes. Lay down smoke, jump over. Go ahead and throw R. I shot it in kind of the wrong direction. The Falcon will normally track a little bit, but it's not like gonna do any heavy lifting to do that. Lay down smoke. I have to jump here? No, I'm fine. And then he's dead. Pretty simple. The build does pretty well, and again, we don't exactly have like the best of gear. A lot of what I've shown on the build planner, I don't even have yet. Like, we've got a bad chest piece, bad head piece. So A lot of room for improvement, and we're already killing things very quickly. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitch, blah, blah, blah. If there's a build you want to see next particularly, feel free to leave it in the comments, and we'll see you guys soon.